Hello, and welcome to Banjo Strings and Drinking Gourds, How America Culture Came to Be, the podcast at the Frontier Culture Museum of Virginia. I'm Alex.
And I'm Rachel.
Right, today we have a very special guest, Dr. Megan Newman, who is the Executive Director of the Frontier Culture Museum. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, glad to be here.
And our first question we have for you is, what is your background and how did you end up at the Frontier Culture Museum?
I started off in archaeology and American history and worked in academics before I transitioned into museum roles. And as my mother says, I started looking at stuff that other people cleaned the dirt off already when I moved from the archaeological field to a museum. And then I wound up landing in some academic teaching positions that led to some academic administration roles. So that background in history and research and organizational administration all tied together in this opportunity here at the Frontier Culture Museum.
All right, what are the more challenging or humorous aspects of your job here?
There's something weird every single day. As a living history site, whether it's weather or the animals or an unexpected tour bus that pulls up front, there's genuinely a surprise moment every single day that keeps our attention and keeps us going and keeps us thinking about better and new and different ways that we can proceed.
And since we are in a pandemic right now, how has the museum fared during this pandemic?
It has been pressing, to say the least. It's heartbreaking to have to release a significant percentage of your staff in that we're reliant on revenue to support some of those positions. But the staff we were able to retain are able to pivot on a dime, and they're resilient and they don't mind getting dirty and they don't ever hesitate to assume new responsibilities to ensure that we continue to provide a good quality program for our visitors. And we found, as an outdoor living history museum, we have an unintentional advantage over some other cultural and educational institutions being outdoors. So we were one of the first in the region that was able to reopen and welcome visitors back. We had a lot of family groups. We had a lot of homeschool families. We had a lot of parents who were wanting to supplement their children's online curriculum, or a lot of folks who just wanted to get outside. So the very thing that has been a constraint for us in some cases because of if it's hot or if it's rainy, if it's snowy, that discourages visitors, wound up being a significant asset to us during this pandemic time. Our visitation is still quite reduced from what it typically is in an average year, but we're happy to see families coming through the door, and a lot of multi-generational families. We'll have people who decide to make a day of it and bring a couple of different members of their community to come and experience a museum.
And the main reason we're doing this podcast is that you have some good news about the museum, or what we hopefully is some very good news about the museum.
It's very exciting. As part of its broad strategic plan set up over 30 years ago, the museum had always intended to have some indoor space to function as both visitor services, educational and programming space, exhibit gallery space, and it takes a very long time to build the staff and the resources and the programming to support that. So we're thrilled to pieces to be at a point in the organization's history where we can move forward with that. So we had secured some funding from the state to provide some preliminary planning, design support, and our next step in the process is, and we've been doing that for a couple of years, the next step in the process is to put a proposal into the state for construction money. Once they take a look at the plan and see what our goals are, and the state is, just to be clear, they've been very involved from the first efforts in this process. We've cleared some hurdles, and we've cleared some approval and permitting processes, and we are ready to start turning over some dirt and swinging some hammers. So the goal of this structure, which hilariously doesn't have a real name yet, we're calling it the Education Center, is to overcome that very disadvantage we have when it comes to inclement weather. That folks sometimes may not be able to visit if they can't walk the mile and a half or don't have the time to explore the entirety of our property, if it's super hot, it's super cold, they have a member of their group who just prefers to stay indoors, we're excited about the opportunity that this space is going to present to receive visitors, all the kind of visitor services and amenities you would expect in a museum, ticketing, a museum shop, visitor facilities, that's code for very nice handicapped accessible family bathrooms. We're also including several large educational spaces. So these are classrooms that could be used in very flex ways. I'm so excited every time we talk to the architects and designers about the new elements they're including to make those really functional. They're going to have drains in case something messy happens in there. They're going to have walls that are dry erase so that every surface in this space can really be used to support what the goals are. We'll also have some temporary rotating exhibit gallery space, which we have never had before. So the opportunity to partner with some of our friends and neighbors in the community in the region, or even broadly, it's being built to Smithsonian exhibit traveling standards, so we can borrow and rent some big blockbuster exhibits to go into that space. In addition to the temporary rotating space, whether it's a big exhibit, a small exhibit, a program, a workshop, we're also going to have an even larger permanent exhibit gallery that's intended to be an orientation for all of our visitors to set the stage a little bit for what they can encounter outside, but also to address some topics and themes and issues and questions that we don't generally have the opportunity to address with the visitor who has a chance to visit the exhibit farms. So it's our hope that visitors will come, will enjoy the temporary exhibit gallery space, the permanent exhibit gallery space, go outside, explore all the exhibit farms, and have a really cohesive sort of intersectional experience. But if they don't, if they just choose to visit the indoor spaces or the outdoor spaces, it will still be a cohesive and thought-provoking and enjoyable day.
That sounds wonderful. What is the time frame if everything goes perfect for this?
If everything goes perfect, then we would drop the request for the construction funding this fall. That would be fall of 2021. If it is approved in the state budget and the governor authorizes construction to proceed, the first dollar we would see in our hand for that would not be until July of 2022. And we already know that there's going to be about 6 months worth of paperwork having to do with permitting and surveying and making sure the ground is ready for when we start to move some dirt. So they're anticipating at this point that construction activity will not be visible on the site until early 2023. That's sooner than you think. The museum will stay open to the public the entire time. The contractor who's been selected to do the project, if the money is secured, is very good at working in and around visitation and actually including part of the construction project in the visitor experience, so they get to peek through little peepholes and see what's going on. And they're very invested in the safety of our staff and our visitors when they come here as well. That means it takes a smidge longer to complete the project, but it really will be integrated into what we do here every day. The new building will also have a lot of spaces that will be available for rent, for facility rentals. When we're not using it for programming or demonstrations or field trips, there's some very handsome spaces that will be available for private functions, weddings, graduation parties, business meetings. Some of the same folks who we welcome to site regularly, the Water Conservation Resources does some certification testing here periodically. Department of Game and Inland Fishery. There are a number of entities who just come to recognize that we have some lecture space and some conference space they can use, and those sorts of spaces will be integrated into new building as well, primarily for our use and our programming, but also I think they're going to be very popular with the community for their needs as well.
And looking at the map site we have, it's not only a building, it's going to tidy up some of the pathways to get from one part of the museum to the other part of the museum.
Absolutely. One of the things the architects and engineers helped us recognize is there are ways to conduct traffic. They call them wayfinding strategies. It's a combination of actual signage with words on it and the strategy for how you curve a road or where you lay a sidewalk or how you plant materials that will guide people to the spaces you want them to head more safely and in a more engaging way. The parking lot will be larger. The location of some of the behind the scenes operations like buildings and grounds and maintenance will be moved to an area that is safer and convenient for staff, but also not in the visitor line of experience. We're going to be consolidating some of the activities operationally that are dispersed across the site now into a more focused area. And ideally, we're going to be getting some more storage to be able to support the programming that we need to do on site, and we'd love to have visitors participate in.
And one other question, because we have a lot of school groups, or before the pandemic, we had a lot of school groups that came to the museum, and hopefully they'll be coming back. How big are the bathrooms in the new building?
Giant! Giant bathrooms. I saw the plan that had the whole row of them lined up immediately adjacent to the exhibit galleries, and the designers and the architects were very attentive to the fact that we have some days we have a steady flow of visitors to the whole day. And then we have some days where they kind of come in large waves, and they're designing the pathways and the doorways to be able to accommodate both. One of my favorite little hidden gem features is lunchbox storage. So when the field trips come and they offload the buses with 400 kids and 400 lunches, where do they go while those children are participating in our program and walking around site? They now have a storage space where they can just slide their material in. It doesn't interfere with the traffic. They're safe. Visitor, pedestrian traffic, or vehicular traffic. So there are those sort of little touches brought to us by folks who have a lot of experience in these arenas, and they're trying to problem shoot or enhance the details of this so that operationally it'll be very smooth once we open the doors to the visitors.
And I guess the last question on this, if in the perfect world, when do you think the whole thing will be complete?
They are projecting at this point that it'll be about 2 years of construction, so that would get us through 2023, 2024, and we're anticipating in 2025 to be able to share everything about the new arrangement with the visitors. One of the huge benefits of this building, of course, will be accessibility, and I mean that in every sense of the term, that it will be available to a much broader range of visitor than can comfortably navigate around our site currently. And that eye to accessibility, again, in every sense. I don't just mean wheelchair. I mean, some people are visual learners, some people are auditory learners, some people cognitively choose to focus on one thing versus another thing. All of those are elements that are being incorporated into the new building, as well as the way visitors move around and across the entire rest of the property with some new signage.
So for those 2 years that we have construction going on, the visitor experience will not change as it stands now. It will merely be augmented by the time the new building opens.
Correct. So the visitors are likely to see construction. It'll be on the edge of the pathway that the construction team will be directing people in and around the construction. There'll be some information panels about what's going on, and ideally we'll be able to engage the visitor in the process and get them excited about what to expect moving forward. But it will not block their experience. We're still going to have school groups, we're still going to have tour buses, we'll still have families who can come and go or come and stay for the whole day. One of the other elements of this project that's exciting for me is the design team is taking into consideration very infrastructure elements like stormwater waste management, where does all the rain go, and they're integrating that into an interpretive experience for the visitor. So for those of you who've been in our parking lot on a rainy day, it's a mess. They're creating a process whereas that water drains into a contained collect that is going to be a natural wetland with native materials planted in and around it, and that's their strategy moving through. So instead of giant, huge metal drain pipes, which may be there, but maybe hidden underground, the visitor experience will be of a sort of naturalized landscape that is obviously better for the environment as well. And we'll have teachable moments because we'll have little plants for the visitors about, especially school kids with some interest in some STEM programming, about where the water's coming from and where it's going and what the materials are around it to help absorb it. And that eye towards minimizing the environmental impact is a part of the design process throughout. It's a LEED certified building, and we're using things like permeable pavers where we can. We're using things like natural light where we can, and all that's with an eye towards having it be not only handsome and welcoming to the visitor, but sustainable, literally in terms of the materials that it's built out of, and in terms of the cost in every sense of that term that it takes to operate it for the next generation.
And I guess the last thing that visitors will notice is one exhibit has to change. It has to move.
We're shifting it.
Yeah,
Correct.
shifted, not change.
Yep. So for visitors who've had a chance to visit our West African farm site, it turns out that the techniques and the materials and the construction strategy used and that was reproduced here in the Shenandoah Valley, brought from West Africa, does not survive the environmental conditions here very well. We found that the clay in the mud was literally melting. It was dissolving away. It was freezing and thawing and popping off in big chunks. And it resulted in structures that were not only not stable, they were straight up dangerous, and they were collapsing. So we're shifting that site, not very far, it's a little bit down the road, so the visitor may not even notice it's been shifted because it's just going to be several yards that it gets moved, but to ground that is less likely to be saturated by the aforementioned stormwater runoff, so in a smarter place in terms of water management, but also being built with some materials and techniques that are more survivable. For folks who come here in the next year or so, you'll see some experimentation we're doing out there in the West African farm site to provide the support and the shoring and the stability inside those things that they need that are, let's be honest, they're not historically accurate, but they'll provide it the safety and the stability it needs to have for occupancy permits and to make us comfortable running school children through there. We have some really brilliant and creative contractors who are helping us develop the techniques and the materials to clad it in a way that is indistinguishable from the original. So in terms of historiosity, in terms of authenticity, in terms of interpretive potential and goals, we obviously want to stay true to those elements of it to tell the story we want to tell. And then the super secret hidden infrastructure allows us to function in those spaces that we really want to have it be a positive and beneficial and really eye-opening or ask questions experience for our guests. But in the interim, you're going to see some pretty weird things going on out there when you see cinder block that has 4 different techniques for applying a particular kind of stucco on the outside, or a raffia roof material that's installed 4 separate ways, while we take a look at how it survives through the winter, how it survives under the wind load and the ice load, and which is going to function best long term. I don't know that folks are necessarily aware that the state certainly won't, and obviously donors might not be inclined to support a project that's going to fall apart in 3 years. So to mix together all of those elements. Of course, all of us with our background in history have a certain yearning for the genuine and the authentic, but we have to intersect that with the interpretive goals and the safety goals of the site. So it's going to be squishy and it's going to be messy for a while. And in the end, I'm really excited about how handsome it will be and how interpretively strong it will be for visitors to walk in and around and through.
All right, so to wrap up, in general, what's the one thing you'd like to tell visitors before they come to the museum?
It's magical. Every single day I sit here in my window and I watch families come in, and there's always some member of their party who is dragging their feet with shoulders hunched down, and clearly they didn't win their vote of where they spent the day. And it's so fun to watch those same groups leave, and the same members of their party who seem the least interested in being here are now the least interested in going home. And they're energized, and you never know what somebody's point of intersection with the experience they have here is going to be, whether they are just smitten with the architectural details, whether it never occurred to them in a million years that linen came from a plant that you can grow, whether they've never touched a sheep or a pig before. So to have the opportunity to have those experiences and see folks who are genuinely energized when they leave is fun and is rewarding, and makes me smile when I look out my window here and see who's coming down the driveway every day.
Well, thank you very much, Megan.
Thank you. So if folks have any further questions about any of our ongoing goings-on, they're welcome to reach out to us. We will start to do some informational sessions out in the local community here in the Stanton area. so people can learn about our upcoming construction project. And obviously, they're certainly welcome to shoot us a message or email or phone call if they have any other questions.
Well, the best thing to do is just come to the museum
Exactly.
and come to the museum
That's
often
right.
and over again.
Our annual pass holders, relative to your question about the pandemic, have been a huge percentage of our visitation, and they do come for half an hour, 45 minutes at a time, and they even are coming several times a week. So we're very grateful for their continued support and hope that they've had the chance to share that with other folks who can come too.
Frontier Culture Museum has a number of really exciting events coming up in the next couple of months. To start with, on Saturday, November 13th, we're having Native American History Day, which is celebrating the accomplishments and influences of Native Americans on American culture. So come check that out. We'll have some members of the Monacan Nation up on our Native site, and they'll be more than happy to talk to you about all things Native. Following that, on Black Friday, the Friday after Thanksgiving, we have our Artisan Christmas Fair, in which case a lot of artisans from locally and from further afield will be hanging out in the atrium outside of the visitor center, and will be presenting a lot of their very interesting fine wares. So if you're looking for that last minute Christmas present, come check that out. And last but certainly not least, we have our Old World Holiday Tours, formerly known as Lantern Tours. And this is the family favorite for this holiday time. The Lantern Tours are an evening program in December where the audience members are taken by lantern light on a walking holiday adventure around our Old World Loop to visit the occupants of our historic houses as they prepare to celebrate the season. Old World Holiday Tours are December 3rd through 5th, 10th through 12th, and 17th through 19th, with performances available every half hour from 5:30. Prices for holiday tours: adults are $15, children from 2 to 6 years old are $5, and infants 1 and under are free. So come check out this fun holiday favorite and enjoy the holiday season at the Frontier Culture Museum. So we hope you enjoyed Banjo Strings and Drinking Gourds. We bring you historical content twice a month. You can check out the Frontier Culture Museum online at frontiermuseum.org, on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You'll find background on all the farms at the museum, information on upcoming events, and so much more.
If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, please consider visiting the website and clicking the donate button. Donations to the American Frontier Culture Foundation support programs like field trips, summer camp, and special events. We greatly appreciate it. See you next time.